his story in the war from beginning to end. And here he is.
This sounds like one of those, what did you do during the war, Grandpa? And I don't want to sound like a hero because I don't feel like I ever was a hero, but I had a lot of experiences during World War II that were probably very interesting to somebody who hadn't experienced it himself. I started out in San Pedro, and I took an examination in San Pedro, and I scored very high in my qualifications. So they sent me back to New Jersey in the Signal Corps in Army Intelligence. There I went to automotive because I had been teaching automotive and I was qualified in automotive. And I was promoted to corporal and then sergeant and then staff sergeant, then tech sergeant. And I went through all the grades. And then I was moved from there to Camp Crowder in Missouri and started a new school where I was in charge, non-commissioned officer in charge. And then from there, I took an examination and became a warrant officer. A warrant officer is a technician, and my specialty was motor transport. And I went with the 90th Infantry Division in Camp Barkley, Texas. From Camp Barkley, Texas, they shipped me to England to prepare for the invasion. And on 2 days before D-Day, I went to Cardiff, England, Cardiff, Wales. And I went from Cardiff, Wales, and it took about 3 days a sea before the invasion date. And I was fortunate enough to go through D-Day invasion without a scratch. I ended up on the beach with a couple of dead guys as protection from incoming bullets and that kind of thing. But eventually I got off the beach, and 2 weeks later I joined my outfit in St. Mary Glees. From there we took off and went with Patton, followed Patton's tanks, and went in a circling motion through France. And we had some fantastic experiences there with the Germans. We captured 130,000 Germans in one swoop. The 90th Infantry Division connected with the British in a place called Falais Gap, which was a very interesting maneuver. From there we went across through the Maginot Line and across through the Siegfried Line, across the Moselle River, across the Rhine River. I went across the Moselle at Königsmarken in the night, under smoke, and captured a tremendous enemy fort there. We pulled back from there, and about that time the Bastogne Bulge, the Battle of the Bulge was happening, so they moved us from there up to Bastogne in the wintertime. The snow was deep on the ground. We pitched off the German from the rear, and then the Air Force decimated what was left of them, and that was practically the end of the war. And from there we went on to Czechoslovakia. So we met the Russians in Czechoslovakia. And that really is about the height. I had 5 battle stars. I was awarded the Bronze Star. I ended up in a hospital in Paris, which was very nice. And about the time that I was in the hospital, they dropped the A-bomb on Hiroshima. So the war was over as far as we were concerned, and I was able to come home. So I was about 18 months away from the United States, away from my wife and kids. I had 2 children. By the time I got home, my son was already 18 months old, and I had never seen him. So like I said, I'm not a hero, but I did have some very interesting experiences. I wouldn't want to go through it again.
Like that part where you got off the boat, hanging on and all that, just up to the beach?
Oh, well, I probably made the invasion, D-Day invasion, a little bit too brief. Actually, what happened was I was a motor officer, and I had a truck, weapon carrier, and a driver. We went into the beach, and they lowered the front gate. We drove off of the gate into about 20 feet of water, which was too deep for the truck. The truck was equipped with snorkels so that it was waterproof to a depth of about 6 or 8 feet. But the water was too deep, and the truck went under completely, and I lost my driver, I lost my truck, and I was fortunate enough to grab the tailgate and get back on board and got another vehicle, and then we went in closer to the beach, and they put me off in water that was manageable, barely manageable. I had my hands on the intake tube, holding onto the tube, trying to keep the water from going down into the carburetor. Anyway, I did get ashore, and like I said before, we got under small arms fire, and I had to get away from the truck, and I wasn't very proud of it, but I used 2 corpses to keep from getting killed myself. There was some very memorable experiences, to say the least.
When you got home from the war, what did you do?
Well, when I got home from the war, I met my wife up in San Francisco, and when we got home, we were home for about 2 weeks, I guess, and I came over to Santa Maria High School and told them that I was available for substitute work in case they needed me. And the next Monday morning, they called me and told me that they needed me. So I came over to Santa Maria High School, and I went to work, and I taught there for 30 years. And it was a real pleasure teaching. I had no psychiatrists take after me, or I had no psychologists tell me what I needed to do and all this kind of stuff. I'm kind of amazed at some of these people that come home from a few months away from home, and they have to be completely reoriented to their families and stuff. I fail to understand it. And I think most veterans feel that way.